I think One Nation's been the only consistent political party for the last 20 years.
They're not talking about you. All right, well, let me tell you, One Nation is talking about you.
It's like the media's run away from One Nation. They're too scared to ask us any questions, mainly because we're straight talkers and we've got the answers.
This is like a call to arms. You guys need to start making the real decisions and who you're going to vote for.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the ExCandidates. My name is Stephen Tripp, and as always, I'm joined by Adam Zahra. How are you going tonight, Adam?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And tonight we have Amanda Evezard on the show. She's running in the seat or the district of Macedon in Victoria for the upcoming state election. How are you tonight, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. How are you guys?
Yeah, pretty good.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Now, you're another one of these fantastic Victorian One Nation candidates that we have been discovering over the last few weeks now. Can you tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, so my husband, we were originally from South Africa. I was born in South Africa during the Apartheid era. And in 1999, we immigrated as a family to Australia as business migrants, so small business on a temporary visa, because we wanted a better future for our children. So we've lived here now for 23 years.
Have you always been down in Victoria?
No, when we first arrived, we went to South Australia. So we had to buy a business and prove certain things before we could apply for permanent residence. And so that's why we were given the 4-year visa. And so we ended up in South Australia, in a little town called Berry, north of Adelaide. And we ran the business there for 4 years. And then after that, we moved down to Victoria.
Yeah, wow.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And what career have you had along the way? You seem to, I've read your bio, you had quite a few very different roles and things along the way.
So predominantly in banking, so banking and finance in South Africa, Barclays Bank. As a 17-year-old, I joined. Banking. I've worked in banking in Australia as well as a bank manager for 2 of the major banks and a number of lending roles with other lenders. I've also been involved in real estate in South Africa. I was also worked as the equivalent of a financial planner. They called them insurance brokers in those days in South Africa. And in hospitality, and then most recently helping my husband in his denture clinic business. So, yeah, I've done lots of different things over the years. Yeah.
You're one of these great candidates that has a real background in a variety of different areas. You really have a good scope of what it's really like out there for people.
Yeah, I've got a real passion for small business as well, because I've been a small business owner and, my husband's in small business now. So I've helped many small business people in banking, but I have a real passion for small business. I understand how difficult it is to come up with the idea and then take the risk of setting up, mortgaging your house to get the money. And it's tough, and then you work 7 days a week. And our first business in South Australia was a licensed cafe and catering business, so pretty much 7 days a week, hard work. So,
believe it or not, I used to work at a bank as well. I worked at the Commonwealth Bank for about a year, a long time ago now. But you you meet a lot of people in different industries and businesses and all different varying types of accounts and really, really broad spectrum of people and where they're at in their lives and in their businesses.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, every job I've had has basically been serving people, helping people. I've never had a job that I haven't been helping people. Even if we had a bed and breakfast business in South Africa, so we had people in our home.
Yeah.
So what happened? How did you end up in One Nation running as a candidate?
Well,
Yeah, so I guess the last 3 years have been challenging for everybody, but it was a real wake-up call. I mean, we came to this country for a better life for ourselves and for our children, and what Dan Andrews has put us through in Victoria over the last 3 years, shutting down businesses, it made me think, do I want to even stay on in this country? I feel quite unsafe around Dan Andrews. I think he's a very dangerous man. And we even considered going back to South Africa, but that's, the whole world's in a mess. I don't think there's nowhere you can run to. I think you just have to stay and fight the fight where you are, because I don't think there is, unless we all escape to Italy, I don't think that there's anywhere else that we can go at this point in time. So,
Okay, so whereabouts from South Africa were you?
So I was born in a town called King Williamstown, which is probably about 60 kilometres inland from East London on the coastline, but mostly lived in the Eastern Cape. What was the Eastern Cape there in East London? I've also lived in Cape Town. But I'd say predominantly East London. It's a long story. During the 70s, when they broke up South Africa into 3 countries, we were living in the Transkei as well. So, but predominantly in the Eastern Cape.
Okay, and so you migrated from South Africa to come to Australia for a better life. You just said that. So, so living through apartheid. So my wife's South African, and my in-law family is South African as well. So I've heard a lot of stories, and even though they chose to leave South Africa and come to Australia, and they had to do it a bit of a different way. They had to go via New Zealand and work their way across. It was a bit, and had all well-educated people. We've got registered nurse, father-in-law's like an engineer. So what happens is, you've had to pack up all your stuff. You've had to leave your whole life behind, and you've come to us, and you've now migrated for a better life. And then to find out, so from 1999 to find out to 1990, so 20 years later, to 2019, all of a sudden you're seeing the same kind of patterns that happened in South Africa. So, I'd imagine, I didn't see it, but from what I've been told, is that, when apartheid was broken down, and then you had the empowerment of the black people over in South Africa, with the what was it called, where they got the
ANC. So when Nelson Mandela was released, and we had our first elections in '94, and we all thought things would be great. I think we had about a 5-year honeymoon period where we thought this is going to be okay. And then we realised within that 5 years that things were not going to be okay.
No.
And it's not, I don't care who runs the country. I don't care what the colour of your skin is. You can be a little green man from Mars. I have no problem at all. It's got nothing to do with white and black for me. It was to do with safety. I didn't feel safe as a woman anymore. And, it wasn't safe for the kids to go and play out in the front garden. And then, I have 2 male children, and there's no future with affirmative action in South Africa for white males. So, we just had to pack up and come to, if we didn't have kids, it might have been different. But for the children's sake, we had to make the move. We had to give them a better future. And I think now, with what's happened over the last 3 years, I'm terrified for my children. I now have a grandbaby, 4 months old. I'm terrified for their future. So you asked, why did I decide to put up my hand? We got involved, I guess when all this was happening, Reignite Democracy Australia came along, and we all joined up, and they were going to form a party, and then they handballed us to the UAP. And so in the federal election, I was a volunteer for Terry Price-Smith's campaign and a scrutineer. And that was my first involvement in politics in Australia, basically. I wasn't looking to get involved in politics. And then after the election, we sort of had to reflect on what we had done and what we'd achieved and where would we go to from here, because we knew we had to do something about the state election. And we interviewed a number of parties. We got our group together. We went to meetings, and and then at the end of the day, we decided to go with One Nation. And Terry was, obviously going to run with One Nation. And then I don't know what happened, but I just decided to apply as a candidate. I think because they've realigned the boundaries as well, and Daylesford, where I live, doesn't fall into the Ballarat area for the state election. It's not part of Western Vic anymore. It's Northern Vic. So I'm thinking, well, all my team are over there, and I'm not part of that. I'm now part of another electorate. So why not just put up my hand and see if I can make a difference here in the lower house? So that's why I got involved. And
Well, good on you. It's absolutely going to make a difference, because what happens is you're standing up for what you believe in, and you're standing up for the Australian people and the people of Victoria. And what happens is from there you will you've seen how it grows. So you've taken this. Probably in yourself you might not feel like you're capable, but you can be, because you're the one who stood up and signed the application form and volunteered to do this. And mind you, it is volunteering because it all comes from you, and it's all on your pay packet. And we know that it's when you're with a minor company, minor party, is all about how much you're willing to put into it and how much leather you're willing to put to this pavement. So we commend you for that. We've all done it. Some of us are doing it again as well. Don't worry, I've got Stephen with me. I couldn't do it without him as well at the moment. He's been a big help for me as well. So what happens is, and it starts a fire in your electorate, and you'll slowly get your supporters more and more and more. And then what happens is, even and you're taking away every vote you get takes away from the majors, and we need to take every vote away from Dan Andrews that we can. So that's $4 something less that he's going to earn for his account next year, next election. So we need to show strength and unity, and I commend you for doing what you're doing. So you'll go across the way thinking there's so many people that are helping you out that are better than that you might think are better candidates, but I'm the same. So I feel like there's a few people that I think would be better candidates than me who are helping me. But they've said to me before, but you're brave enough to stand. I could never stand and speak in public. I could never stand and be under scrutiny like you are. So in essence, you're still better, like the best candidate available, because you're the one who stood up. So never forget.
Not everybody will put their lives on hold to do this. And I mean, essentially, my husband and I haven't worked for the last 12 months, not properly because of the mandates.
Yeah.
And so, a lot has happened over the last 3 years. Very personally, I lost a very close family member in 2020. That person didn't get the care that they should have had. They would have preferred to have some of the alternative treatments. We were in lockdown. We would have loved to have done a retreat together. It's very personal for me from that perspective. But now I'm terrified for my children. I'm absolutely terrified for my children and my grandchild.
Yeah.
So,
if I was in Victoria, I'd be terrified as well. I've got to be honest.
And look, at the end of the day, I'm not prepared to live under a strong. If Dan Andrews is re-elected with a very big victory, in other words, he's got the say. I wouldn't want to live here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live here because he's
a lot
very
of people
dangerous.
have left already, haven't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know how many. I've even heard numbers as high as 200,000. I don't know. I don't know how many people have left, but I wouldn't want to live. I mean, he's just waiting to inflict the next lot of terror on us. It's going to happen. I mean, already in New South Wales, they're talking about new variants. And I heard today at the meeting that we're at today, there was somebody that came up and said that their husband works for one of the government, I think Parks Victoria, and they're now mandating the jab. Why now?
Oh, really?
Why now?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
it's crazy. And what happens is, go Steve.
So I just really liked how you said it. It's personal for you, because we keep hearing, we've moved on from COVID. It's in the past. Don't focus on it. And look, there's an element of that's true, but for a lot of us, we can't move on from it because what we went through and what we're still going through in certain aspects, it's not over. And
Well, this is what's happened is so many people weren't affected, so they don't give a damn about people like us who couldn't work. For me, I care because there's still people in Victoria, the doctors and nurses and allied health professionals still can't go to work in a public or private hospital. My husband's been able to reopen his business because we don't work in those environments, but we should be. There are people in aged care who need our services and we can't go in there. So this is not about, I'm not the kind of person who can say, oh, okay, we're okay now. We can start up our business and bugger everybody else.
yeah.
There's still people in this state who can't work because they won't participate in an experimental medical procedure. It's not acceptable. So I'll never give up. Whether I get into politics or not, I will keep fighting, whether it's with a bus on the road interviewing damaged people or whatever it is. I don't give up until these people are held accountable. Yep. They are charged with crimes against humanity for what they've done to people, with the lockdowns, with the jabs, with everything else. They will be accountable. In my mind, there's no amnesty. People may forgive them, but we won't forget, and they will be held accountable. And we need to look at their bank accounts and their families' bank accounts. We should be freezing their bank accounts and their assets like you do with people who deal in drugs, because this is crimes against humanity in my mind.
Well, I guess the first step is a royal commission to have those investigations to see if there was anything going on like that. But even just moving beyond that whole point, just the people that have lost their businesses like yourself, what is the situation with that in Victoria? Because you guys were locked down more than any other place in the world. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine that a lot of businesses would have been able to withstand being locked down for so long. Do you speak to a lot of people that have lost their businesses or, may have retained their business?
Yeah, I think what they did was they kept us going with the handout. So there was either JobKeeper. So because I was employed in my husband's business, legally employed, and I could prove that, I was able to get JobKeeper. And then they kept giving these grants out, so we ticked over, we kept going. But I just knew that come November, when it was mandatory for all health practitioners, there were different dates for different people, but I knew that by November, if we didn't take the jab, we wouldn't be able to work. So, during the 2 years, there was some income coming in because they kept giving the handouts, and so we could cope and survive. But we had 2 mortgages, a little house that we bought in Dalesford where we're living at the moment, which was supposed to be for our retirement one day, and a property down in Torquay. And I just said to my husband, we've got to sell one of these houses because we can't have this level of debt if we're not allowed to earn. We'll lose everything. And at our age, my husband's 64, I'm 58. We started over 22 years ago. There is no capacity to start over. We don't have that many years to work like that, So we ended up having to sell our home, shut down our business, and move 5 years earlier than we planned to do. So once again, it's very personal. He's basically taken away our hope, our aspirations. I love small business. I love starting new businesses. I could be starting another new business. We want to take my husband's business mobile in a bus. Yeah. These country towns need dentures, need people who, we would do that, but we've held back in going to that new investment because we don't know when next we're going to get locked down again or a new mandate is, so...
Yeah, you're raising
it's not just us suffering, it's all the people who need our services that are suffering.
Yeah, but
it's so uncertain.
Yeah, you raised a fantastic point there where you said, if things had gone along normally, you would have invested in a new business or a new property or all that investment that didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. There's a huge gap from 2 years of people, if there's uncertainty, people don't spend money, they don't invest.
Of course.
So that's a fantastic point that you just made.
And I mean, we're pretty resilient. I'm pretty tough. It takes a lot to knock me down, but there are other people who don't have that resilience. What about the young people about to start their first new business?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be doing that now. With rising interest rates and cost of fuel and energy and everything else, nobody's going. I mean, the federal government are dreaming if they think that people are going to go out and start new businesses. Seriously, I mean, who's going to do that?
That's right. Yeah. And another point that you raised as well, the uncertainty, right? And the problem is that your personal story, you had to sacrifice and you had to adjust and change and use your resilience to get through it. And it was all based on something now that the chief executive from Pfizer in the European courts had just said that we didn't even test on transmissibility. So we were told that, from all of our health ministers and chiefs of health staff that you have to have this and then it's going to stop transmission and everything's going to be good and everything can go back to normal. So that was all based on a lie that even the pharmaceutical companies hadn't even tested for anyway. So, I mean, when you're saying that you want them held accountable, I think everybody who was and it doesn't matter if you're jabbed or not. It was about, I think people want these people to be held accountable because they are meant to tell us the truth, and they're paid by us to tell us the truth. And we know that our Chief Health Officer, Dr. Kerry Chan, she's under investigation, and they're going to have at the moment because of what Janine Small said in the European Court, that our health minister our health doctor was saying, if they're safe and effective and will stop transmission and everyone can go back and we'll cut the curve. And it was, where did they get that information from? And they won't reveal it.
Of course, because it doesn't exist. I mean, I was awake to this because of other things that I followed prior to COVID. So I knew beforehand, and we knew something was coming, and I never contemplated taking the jab. I just knew it was wrong. But, many other people wouldn't have had that insight, I don't know if we'll ever see the truth. I've followed the TGA COVID reports every week since, I think it's the 3rd of February 2021. I've printed them up because they're going to go and change the data probably. I've probably got to go back and do the last couple because it's only fortnightly now. But I've followed that with horror and I've shared it. And people just, it's like they don't care. The injuries mount up, the deaths mount up, the list of adverse events rises up, and people just don't seem to care.
No, absolutely, and it's kind of like they've what's that saying? There's a meme going around. It's easier to fool people than to tell them they've been fooled.
Yeah,
something that's a new one. So what happens is that people have basically been like fooled. Yeah. And and all of us have taken a gamble any which way. So if you took a gamble, and Stephen has made this point himself, I'm not going to be a plagiarist, that what happens is you to choose not to have the jab, you ran the gauntlet of not being able to work, of possibly getting sick with something that no one really knew about, and dying from this thing that was supposed to kill everybody that it got to. Or you took the jab, and then you decided, and then you trusted in the science and the doctors and all that kind of stuff, and then and ran the gauntlet with an experimental medication that who knows what it would do to you. So so it was a bit of we all sacrificed our own way, and we were all lied to. So
and I don't judge people who've taken it. I just think at this late stage, if people still think that this is safe and effective, and they're still rolling up, then there's nothing we can do for them. I mean, I watched one of your podcasts where you spoke about the deletion of the 1p36 gene. Maybe that's it. Maybe they've lost the ability to think critically. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there seems to be a lot of zombies walking around at the moment who just I don't know. They just don't seem to get anything. Now it's the climate emergency. So we'll just shelve COVID for a while, and we'll create a new lot of fear, and the sheep will just follow.
And that's what happened. I don't like to refer to people as sheep, unfortunately. I know that's a term, but
it's horrible.
No, it's horrible, but everybody's, sometimes I guess when you start researching, and if you are still critical thinking, or if you weren't, don't forget too, you've had a tough, like South Africa was tough living. It doesn't matter how good you had it, you still had through the times of apartheid and through all when the society radically changed from apartheid to not apartheid, all right, there was a radical change there. So you've also been, I find that South African people tend to be very, very street smart, very, very questioning of government as well. So I've got a lot of supporters and volunteers who are from ethnic origins.
Yeah, we found that over the last few days. Yeah, Croatia, Poland, whatever. They haven't forgotten. It's almost like it's ingrained in us genetically. You know what I mean? You just know there's something not right.
That's right. And what the scary part is, like traditionally Australian-born and Australian, like generational families, they, because they've had like freedom and democracy and a stable country and a stable government for a very long time. For most of their for their history, most Australians would have had stable government. There's never been really a rock shelter of government in Australia, or an uprising, or any sort of. I think we had the Eureka Stockade was probably the last kind of insurgents we ever had, and apart from that, it's been pretty stable since then. So people have never seen or had any reason to suspect or distrust government. I've had a stylist who I've used in the past, mainly for my weddings and stuff like that. She is Bosnian. And she came here and she said, my family lived through communism, and they said that they never had lockdowns ever in their history like we had in the past few years. She goes, they were able, you were able, you never had to wear masks, you never had to, you were able to leave your house, you could go about your daily business, you had nothing, and you had to work really, really hard, right? But they could still eventually, by working hard, they still were able to buy their houses, they still were able to, live a reasonable life.
Yeah. They weren't living in fear constantly.
Not in constantly fear. Whereas what happens is she said that they never experienced anything like that. Her and her mum never experienced anything like in Bosnia like they have here in the past 2 years. And this is modern Australia. This is meant to be a free and democratic society. And I got in trouble by so many people when I compared, and I've seen another comparison, I wish I saved it, right, that somebody was comparing the facial mask to the yellow star that the Jewish people had to wear in the Holocaust times. Now, I got in a lot of trouble from family and friends and people that I know who had family and friends who went through that. And I'm like, but in a modern civilization, that's what in modern day, that's kind of what it is. You don't have to lock people down and put them into camps. When you threaten to take something away from them and put them in their houses and make them wear a face mask every time, it's all about control.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that fear, that psychology of fear, and then I've started thinking back. When you watch Malcolm Roberts' speech today, when it gets up at some point, I started thinking about what happened in South Africa around in the 70s, where, they controlled, the government was in power the Nationals were in power for about 40 years. How does that happen? And they divided the country up into three, Transkei, Cisco, and South Africa in the 70s. And I'm starting to think now, I was just a young girl then, but fear was used to make that possible, because I don't believe there was a referendum that said we were going to break the country up. They just did it, and then it never worked, so they had to amalgamate the whole country again, But it was fear. There was conscription, so all the young men had to go to the army. My husband served in the army as a young man, and only really got released when we came to Australia. So, he did 10 years of camps. 2 years full-time service. You didn't have a choice in those days. If you didn't want to go to the army as a conscript, you went to jail for 2 years. Yeah. So I'm now starting to think, well, what was going on in the 70s? Because Malcolm Roberts talks about the 70s in Australia. And I'm thinking, this has been going on. Every war that's probably been started has been by the same group of people trying to achieve the same sort of outcomes. It's always about money and control. And somebody else goes off and fights their wars for them and dies on the battlefield, and then they come back again and do it all over again. This is just a very different war. If the COVID virus was released as a bioweapon, who knows, but just think how successful they've been, how many people they've killed.
I think they've been successful, but I think they also didn't realise that the resilience of the people. So I liken it to, they thought they were going to get the Great Reset. What they've got is the Great Awakening, and every day somebody new wakes up, and that's what gives me hope, really. Even if we compare today to 3 months ago, the things that are being spoken about, the people that are coming out and joining the various groups, and that I have hope. People are waking up, absolutely.
Well, there's a poll that's just come out to say that Dan Andrews and the Labor Party have their leaders shrunk compared to the Liberals, and it looks like things are tightening up. Do you think he's a sure bet to get back in, or do you think there's a chance that he could get voted out?
No, I think that's just the mainstream media pumping up his tires. I think his seat will be one of the most contested seats. There are so many people trying to get rid of Dan. So for me, what would be wonderful is if he lost his seat, because that gets rid of him. But no, sadly, when you watch Malcolm Roberts' speech, at the end of the day, what he said was that when voters need to choose who to vote for, you can't separate Liberal and Labor because they're the same now. So the only other option is One Nation, because you've got to put Liberal and Labor together. They just change places every now and again. It's not an alternative, and that's why Matt Guy is so weak and feeble, because he doesn't, he's not really trying to win. I mean, they didn't speak out about there was very watered down. He said that he would remove the mandates and that, but he didn't stand up for us when we were locked down. He didn't stand up for us when we were being forced to take a jab to keep our jobs. He didn't stand up when the tradies were being shot at by Dan Andrews' police force, So I have no respect. I could never vote for them again.
No.
They're no different in my eyes. So who's the alternative? One Nation's probably the most organised to make things happen. But I think what we'll see now in the state election is that the freedom parties will work better together. Already we are working together, sharing volunteers, scrutineers. It's not about me beating the Freedom Party in my seat. It's about one of us getting in and getting rid of Mary Ann Thomas, who's the sitting health minister in in the seat of Macedon. So, at the end of the day, I'm not doing this because I want this to look great on my resume. If I get in, I will serve the people of Victoria and the people of Australia. But if one of the other Freedom Party people get in, fantastic. So
that's right. You've got to be careful with your preferences, though, when you're dividing up for Dan Andrews' seat. If he's got 15 candidates, that's really important with your preferencing, because what happens is when you divide I'm learning this more and more myself. Stephen's taught me about this as well, right? But what happens is when you divide your vote, it actually helps the majors, because it trickles down to them eventually anyway.
Look, they're really all over that. Warren Pickering is our the leader down here, and they're all over that. So they'll work all that out, and I guess by the end of this week we'll know what that looks like. But no, we won't be preferencing Labor, Greens, or if there's any Teals that pop up. I haven't heard of any yet, but they'll be bottom of the pile.
They're there.
They'll be bottom of the pile, yeah.
But Teals, you have to find your Liberal. Have you got Liberal candidates anywhere? Seated?
I've seen there is a Liberal candidate for my seat, but he wasn't showing on the VEC website as of Friday yet. But I have seen some of his brochures out. So I think at this stage in my seat, it's the sitting Labor member, possibly Liberal, One Nation, an Independent, and the Freedom Party.
Yeah, you won't get your Teals unless there's a. You won't get your Teals.
They won't come up. No.
Unless there's a Liberal seated member, because the Teals try to get out the Liberals. That's what happened. I know, because I didn't. So Stephen had a Liberal in the federal campaign. He had a Teal candidate.
The Queen of the Teals.
The Queen of the Teals.
The Queen of the Teals.
Ali Stegel.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh wow.
Queen Zali. And then what happened was, but I had a Labor seated member, which was Dr. Freelander. And we didn't get it. We didn't get contested by a Teal candidate because we were a Labor seat.
Yeah, very strategic. These Teals that don't actually belong to a party. Hey, isn't that a joke? In fact, I think Simon Holmes a Court has got a property here, apparently on the outskirts of Dalesford. So.
Well, it's all about dividing the vote. The left do it very well. They've got the Animal Justice Party. They've got the Greens, the Labor Party, now the Teals. It's all about trying to take as many votes off the Liberal Party as possible.
We say the Conservative right.
Well, yeah, that's right. And then their preference discipline is a whole lot better than the right side of politics. But one thing that I'm really interested about with you, Amanda. You were saying that you were UAP, now you're One Nation. I've found all the way along that UAP and One Nation, volunteers, candidates, whatever it might be, get on really, really well.
Yes, absolutely.
Almost as if we should be the one party. But how did you feel when you found out that UAP weren't running in the Victorian state election? Did you understand that? Did you understand the reasons for it? Or did you kind of feel a bit abandoned that the UAP weren't running, at least in the lower? I know they're in the upper house, but not the lower house.
Yeah, I think we pretty much made up our minds after the federal election that we were probably going to look at another party, and we did. We met up with Lib Dems, Victorian.
Why was that?
We just wanted to listen to what they had to say. We wanted to examine their policies, meet them face to face, just get a gut feel of, because we were still passionate to stay involved. We all felt we needed to stay involved, but we, I think with the UAP, first of all, we weren't sure if they were going to register. Then now they've only got candidates in the upper house, which has been disappointing. So, yeah, we looked at the Victorians Party, we looked at the Lib Dems, One Nation. There were still a few that, were still hanging on with UAP. And, yeah, even Catherine Cummings, if she'd got her party up and running, which she hasn't. So, yeah, we just wanted to do a bit of homework this time round, and because we basically got drawn into the UAP because we all joined RDA, Reignite Democracy Australia, and then we were handballed across to the UAP, and we were happy with that. But we just felt, it was pretty tough being a UAP volunteer or candidate. I had people, when I did handing out how to vote cards, people tear up that card in my face and throw it at me. I had, it wasn't a pleasant experience either. And it's not that we're not tough, but we just thought, before we do this again so soon, let's just make sure that we back a party that we really feel we can make a difference with. And it's not that we didn't consider One Nation. I guess we probably didn't, because One Nation have never contested an election down here from a state point of view. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that we were anti One Nation. It's just we ended up with UAP. But this time around, we just wanted to do it better.
It's so interesting because I know, I'm sure Adam feels the same way from a One Nation's perspective. We feel like we get more heat than any other party. Like, we have a 25-year history that people can kind of take shots at. Whereas the UAP don't really have a long history. I know Clive likes to point back to, it was around in the 1940s, but you can't compare. Like, it's not the same party. It's the same name. It's not the same party. Why do you think there is so much hate towards UAP when they stand for things like freedom, which you would think most people would agree?
I think you can put this firmly at this, at the seat of the mainstream media because they've painted Clive Palmer as some kind of demon who doesn't pay his workers and that sort of stuff. So and then I guess there's also that, that thing that happens where some people don't like rich people. So, you're going to hate him just because he's got lots of money. So different reasons. I think Craig Kelly was very well received, but there are people in this country who don't like Clive Palmer, and they're never going to forgive him. Whether he did anything wrong or not, they're just not going to do it.
Well, they might not like rich people, but at least, and I'm not advocating for Clive Palmer, but at least he puts his face to that money, whereas Liberal and Labor, they get billionaires donating to them as well, and so do the Teals. The Teals, Zahra Stegel got found out in my electorate when she, it was uncovered that she was receiving money from coal investors when she supposedly queen of the renewables as well.
It's just wrong. And I mean, the laws that were changed down here in Victoria, which make it so difficult to fundraise. I mean, there's so much wrong with governance in Australia now at a state and federal and probably even at a local level, that we really have to get good people into government to clean it out. And Victoria is a cesspit. So it's going to take people of principle who don't give up. And in my banking career, I've been a manager where I've had to go in and clean up messes, things that have been done wrong. So you need people who will not be corrupted by the system and will stand their ground, and then we're going to clean out each department, one department at a time. Because, I mean, this Victoria's, there's too many government officials, too many bureaucrats. I think he's grown his staff by 60,000 or something ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just, he's got so many people doing his job for him, and then he puts on his tradie vest and he puts on his hard hat and he goes out and makes out as if he's doing all the work, It's just smoke and mirrors.
But the biggest secret in all of this, which shouldn't be a secret, should kind of be, everyone should be aware of this, is when you run as a candidate, you're putting up your own money. Like, you can accept donations from people, but let's be honest, the majority of the funds for your campaign are going to come out of your bank account. You're not receiving big funds from anyone else running for One Nation. It's people like you with conviction. You're willing to, not only are you willing to stand up and put your face up so everyone can see that what you stand for, but you're also willing to put up your own money to run and to stand up for your community. So, a lot of people. I had one woman come up to me once and she said, "So, what salary do they give you running as a candidate?"
Not only have we been unemployed for a year, we have to use our own money for our own campaign.
Well,
I mean, it's just ludicrous.
I
don't understand.
I had somebody ask me the same thing. I've been working with the guy for like 5 years, for more than that. I've been working with the guy for like 10 years. And he goes, so what kind of income are you getting is, all this work that you do for One Nation and all this extra stuff that you've been doing and reading and writing and all this kind of stuff. I said, mate, I'm doing it for love of the people. It's not for anything else other than love. I get nothing for it.
I just want to buy a bus, convert it into a motorhome, and head off into the sunset. Thank you very much.
And fix people's teeth, right?
Who'd want to work with Dan Andrews? Yes, seriously.
No,
and we don't want to pat on the back for that, but I'm just highlighting it because I think if a lot more people knew, they would go, hang on, maybe I should take a little bit more notice of this person because they're really standing up for what they believe in.
Well, it should make them look at the policies. It should make them go, wait a second. These people are investing their time, their own money, and basically, putting pressure on their own family, right, to do this. So wait a minute. Let me go and have a look at the policies and see what it's about. Let's not worry about what the media have said about Senator Hanson. Let's not worry about what the media say about, Senator Roberts or, the Honourable Mark Latham and Rod Roberts and those guys, right? Let's see what the policies are about. And then let's work out from there because obviously just like Clive has been stained and tarnished by media, so One Nation's also been tarnished by media, and then it just seems to be that you can never break this cycle, But we've got Indian candidates. We've got our state director is an Indian gentleman. We've got yourself who's South African. You know what I mean? Myself, I'm European descent. I'm born in Australia, but I'm first generation Australian. So we've got lots of, and it seems to be that the people who are from an ethnic background are the ones who are actually willing to stand up and fight for good old Australian values.
Yeah, because I think, our history is pretty recent. Even if you're a first generation Australian, it's not too long ago that wherever your family fled from, if they did flee, they haven't forgotten. And I almost think that's almost like ingrained in your DNA. You just know it's not right. I think the thing that's amazed me in Victoria, I just don't understand how people have been willing to just overlook the fact that people have lost their homes, lost their businesses, some have lost their lives, and they don't care. They were happy to dob people in for daring to catch up with family when they were in lockdown. What has happened to society? Where is the humanity? That shocks me. And we are still trying to save people, still trying to tell people don't get the jab. We love you. We care about you. We don't want you to die. We don't want you to get hurt. But they're quite happy to see us on the scrap heap, lose our businesses, and they'd probably be quite happy to see us die of COVID. What has happened to humanity?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's divide and conquer, and I've been speaking out about this the whole time because, as you said, the other side are kind of like that, but some of us on this side are like that as well. I went to a meeting yesterday where they were talking about a lot of people that had 20-year-olds that had died in their sleep, and babies, the excess deaths going up, and they kind of had a little bit of glee in their voice, like, yes, I was on the no, it's just horrible. This is terrible. We were all lied to. We were all put in horrendous situations, and whether you took the jab or not, it's not us versus them. We're all
no, not at all.
This is the real essence where we're all in this together. We were all put in this situation together, and we all had to make a very, very difficult decision. Some people made it a lot easier than others. Some people raced out and got the jab first thing. Well, that's their business, and if they make the right decision, then great, fantastic. But we were all put in a very hard position, and it's not us versus them, and we should feel happy if someone dies from the vaccine or if someone dies from COVID when they were unvaccinated or anything like that. We really need to put this into perspective and say we were all lied to. We were all lied to people like Dan Andrews in government right now, he doesn't stand up at any press conferences when he doesn't want to answer a question. And there's no accountability. No one's gone after him and said, hey, we're going to do a royal commission into you, buddy, because we've got some answers. Where's that health advice that you kept promoting every day up in your press conferences, trying to scare little old ladies and all sorts of people that they're going to die and they can't see their grandchildren because you can't see them because they might have COVID and you'll drop dead tomorrow. Where's the accountability in that? And that's why I'm so glad that One Nation is running in Victoria this time. It's the first time that One Nation has run at a state level in Victoria. And people like yourself, Amanda, and we've spoken to Ben and we've spoken to Ricky Lee and Warren Pickering. I mean, we've been absolutely blown away with the quality of the candidates down there. I'm so thankful that you've stood up to be a candidate and to give people the option. And look, it might not happen this election and Dan Andrews might get elected, but maybe it will wake enough people up for the next election, because people like this, he's as crooked as a snake with two heads, I think.
I think most people don't know.
I don't know how people don't see it.
Yeah, when I've asked a few people, are you aware of what the abortion laws in Victoria? Now, he was in 2008. He was the health minister. He brought in, most people don't know. Even in these meetings we've had over this weekend, people don't know the full extent of the abortion laws. Full-term abortion, no anesthesia for the baby, partial abortions. Just imagine it. Literally pulling a baby apart limb by limb. Are they doing something with those organs? What is going on?
Yeah.
So most people can't cope with the reality. We have to tell them. I'm not saying that nobody should ever get an abortion. I'm not going to judge anybody for that, but I have a big problem with murdering babies. And a baby that has a heartbeat is being murdered. A baby at 24 weeks or 40 weeks gestation, that is murder. I'm sorry, I can't. And so when I talk to people about that, they say they didn't know. They didn't know. Yeah. But they also don't want to think too hard about it because it's too horrendous.
It is horrendous.
Contemplate that.
It is horrendous.
He's a monster. I call him the Prince of Darkness. Honestly, he's Satan incarnate. There's something wrong with this man. There is nothing good in him. He has presided over more death in his time than any other leader in this country, I would think.
And we've got friends at Cauldron Pool. And there's a video going around at the moment. It's called The Procedure. So that's something that you might want to also look at. I haven't shared it around too much on Facebook because I'm worried about getting banned coming up before my election as well. But I think that should be something worth watching. And it's a short video. It's been very well endorsed. It's a horrible video.
Yeah. I can imagine. Well, this is what we should be showing all these people contemplating voting for the Greens, Labour, and Teals. This is the kind of these are the monsters you're voting for because a baby is the most vulnerable, and yet Dan Andrews thinks it's cool.
No, but baby's sacred.
Yeah, and my daughter's almost 14 months old, so the thought of her birth is still very, very vivid in my mind. And to think that someone could have ended her life through abortion on that day is horrific. And look,
it's horrific.
I'm kind of on the fence with abortion because I understand that there's circumstances where women would want an abortion early on in the pregnancy. But if the way I look at this is my personal opinion, I don't think there's a clear, correct answer in this argument. But if a baby can survive a premature birth, well, from that point, no abortions. Because,
but think about that. This is a topic that obviously one could discuss forever. But even if it couldn't survive, it's able to feel pain.
No, absolutely.
Doesn't matter. Even if it couldn't survive, it's a living human being with a heart, and it has a nervous system, and it can feel pain. So
the pro-life policy that One Nation has is about being able to administer pain relief to the baby before it's been aborted, and also this is the federal stuff, obviously, and
also caring for it if it survives the abortion.
That's right, and what happens is
leaving it to die. So leaving it to starve and dehydrate and leaving it to die.
That's what I was going to say.
What kind of society are we? I don't understand how people can sleep at night knowing that. But the problem is that most people don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens that's in Victoria. So the baby can be born, and it's a survived abortion, late-term abortion. The baby can be born, and this gets put on a steel table in the corner of a room and left alone until it dies. And it could be alive for hours before that happened. Now, I also didn't know about that until probably halfway through my campaign in federal. And when I realised that that's the laws that are passed only in Victoria at the moment, and I'm sure that if a Labor government gets in New South Wales, then they'll also pass those rules.
No, they're already in there. It's already in.
We don't have late-term abortion like that.
We have full-term abortion.
Do we have full-term abortion in New South Wales as well? When did that come through?
That was Gladys Berejiklian, and she's always been hammered about that.
Oh, I thought it was only in Victoria that it was passed. I know that we spoke about it.
I'm pretty sure it's gone through.
This is the thing, they managed to sneak the stuff through. There's no debate with the public. Dan Andrews has put laws in place in Victoria where you can't even go and protest outside an abortion clinic. You can't even walk past if you're like someone of the clergy, you can't walk past and identify yourself as a man of God or, person who believes in God. You can go to jail and get fined. You can't even be within, I think it's 100 metres, something ridiculous. So the man's a monster.
And what happens to that's all in contrast to the Freedom of Religion Discrimination Act and all those kind of things too that obviously been watered down by the Liberal government and never got passed in Parliament. But we're also One Nation's all for working on all those kind of things to make sure that there's freedom of religions. But look with the abortion thing. Here we go.
This is what I've found so far. It just says that it establishes a health-centred approach to abortion, supports a woman's right to health, including reproductive health and autonomy. The Abortion Law Reform Act ensures termination of pregnancy. Abortion is treated as a health issue rather than a criminal issue. So I need to dig a bit deeper to find out if it is the same as Victoria. But anyway.
I really did think when I skimmed over it as well, because I had to do a bit of a talk on it once, that it wasn't. I didn't think it was as extreme in New South Wales as it is. It's very extreme in Victoria.
I mean, this is how stupid it is. I think I read somewhere that if a mother is involved in a car accident and she's 20 weeks pregnant and the baby is killed in that accident, it's counted as a death. So it's considered to be a viable birth. But an abortion at 20 weeks is never counted. No. It doesn't get a death certificate. It never existed.
So what happens is you can see if the poor person who might have caused the car accident, it could have been just an innocent accident, and then the mother and child at 20 weeks in womb dies. That's 2 counts of murder. Yeah, absolutely. Right, or grievous bodily harm. Okay, but then they have their cake and eat it too, because when a mother decides, it's her autonomous right to be able to have an abortion at 20 weeks with the baby well and truly formed at that point, that it's a health issue or something like that.
It's just nothing. Right. It doesn't even get counted as a human. Yeah.
And I think, look, I'm not an anti-abortion person, because I don't want to see. I've been tainted with the Dirty Dancing movie thing, from when I was a kid, right? So you don't want kids running off to some dark corner in the neighborhood and somebody, damaging them forever with a non-medical abortion. But there definitely has to be some sort of guidelines put in place, i.e., when do we consider life started? Okay, so with being Christian and religious, as soon as conception happens, that's life. Okay, so that's why I understand that Christianity has such a hard stance against it. But what happens is, we do have, there should be a point in time that it should be discussed between, and there's no easy answer, we all know that, but between your health professionals, between families, between religious leaders, scientists, and then to kind of determine, because we can end all this rubbish and debate and all this division if we set a time. So imagine if you said, okay, you can, and it's legal to have an abortion up to 8 weeks. After 8 weeks, no more abortion. You have to carry.
I mean, how about we invest in some education around prevention? All they're doing in schools now is teaching kids how to have, have sex. Yeah, how to change your body, gender, all of that. How about we make sure that there is birth control and teach kids that it's okay to say no, instead of being pressured. So where's the prevention? That hasn't gone. Yeah, that's gone, They don't seem to teach that anymore, offer that. It's all of it. Just go out, do anything you like, and if you make a mistake and something bad happens, don't worry, you can, just get rid of it. How about we educate young people in prevention? Prevention's better than cure. That's what my grand always said, So
I agree.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely agree with you with that. I think now, have you got any? I know we've rambled on about all different things, and we've had a really good discussion about abortion. And well, it's never a good discussion when it's about abortion and procedures because it's a horrible topic. COVID's been a horrible situation and time in Australia and around the world, but it's been bloody un-Australian. And I know we've spoken about this before as well. That neighbours dobbing in neighbours. That's against the Australian ethos of it, if anything. So that's you're meant to help your neighbour. But have you got any? Because you're obviously the state election's coming up, okay, and you're in the district of Macedon.
Yeah.
What can you say to your electors in Macedon? What will One Nation bring to them? Have you formulated anything?
In one word, it'll bring hope. And that's what I've found from the meetings that I've attended, the dinner and the breakfast this weekend, is that people are thrilled that there's somebody putting their hand up or a party that's come forward that's going to give them hope, because they look at Liberal and Labor and they think, well, there's no choice anymore. We've always done that. One election is Liberal or Labor and whatever, and then we get on with our lives for the next 3 or 4 years. But it's hope. I think we offer hope. I can't promise new hospitals and whatever. I'm not in government. I can only work with my community to identify their needs and then try and get them what they need. But people want hope. They need to see the end of this COVID madness. And now we're on to the climate emergency. It's the next fear campaign. People want hope that we're going to get back to normal, embrace this wonderful country for what it is, get rid of these corrupted politicians and health bureaucrats, and basically clean out all of these organisations like the TGA and APRA and the AMA and everybody else that's been corrupted along the way, and basically start afresh again, because this should still be the best country in the world. There's no reason. We've got all the resources to be self-sufficient. We've got people who are willing to work and start new businesses. The only thing that's holding us back is corrupted government supported by corrupted bureaucrats. Yeah. It's time to clean it out, start over, get good people in, and then hold these people accountable for what they've done to us, not just over the last 3 years, but all the years that they've put things in place, put people into different positions so that they could do this to us over the last 3 years, because this didn't start 3 years ago. Listening to Malcolm Roberts, he gave us a damn good history lesson today, because we've only lived here since late 1999, but things were going on in the 70s already. So yeah, I just think people, they want hope, and people came up and said thank you for trying.
Yeah.
And
then
there's some very worried people out there.
That's a great photo.
Yeah, so that's the whole Victorian team, is it?
Was that today? Yeah, that looks like it. That was us today at Wood End at the Full Moon Saloon, which has been absolutely awesome. Apparently, throughout COVID lockdowns, they stayed open. She copped the fines. It became a refuge for people, and they have Red Pill night on a Wednesday night, where people, like-minded people, can go and speak and chat, and they have speakers and that. So they're a fantastic. And funny enough, they're also of a South African background.
Oh right, there you go.
Yeah. And amazing. If you're ever down this way, go to the Full Moon Saloon in Wood End. Awesome venue, wonderful people.
100%.
From also the gala. Was this the gala dinner that you had?
That was last night. Yeah, at the aquarium. That was awesome. Yeah, very good.
There's Warren.
Warren, always looking good.
Yep.
A sharp-dressed man, that man.
We don't know this man yet. Who's this? Is this?
That might be Chris Bradbury, I think, possibly. I'm not quite sure. I can't see too well from here.
Okay.
And that's Ben behind him.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah. Oh, very good. It's good that you guys are having joint events and
teamwork.
working really hard as a team. Yeah,
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And we're sort of just piggybacking on other meetings. So down our way as well, there's a big campaign against the renewables that are going up on the farmland and the transmission line. So you've got Stop AusNet and you've got Piss Off AusNet. So we went to a meeting last week with the Victorian Farmers Federation. Interesting, they wouldn't let us speak as One Nation. They introduced us, said that people could chat afterwards. So the two candidates that debated in the seat of Ripon were Liberal and Labour. And I think that for us was a real eye-opener, listening to those people speak, especially the Labour candidate who thinks our hospitals are fantastic. Dan's doing a great job with our hospitals.
With all the ambulance ramping.
Yeah. So honestly, I mean, those poor farmers there who are terrified of what's going to happen to their land, and they're the two candidates, and there's no hope. No hope at all.
That's right. And Liberal wouldn't have been much different. He wouldn't have said anything different.
Actually, so the sitting member in that seat is, I think her name's Louise Staley. So she's proposing to move the transmission lines into another electorate.
Oh, yeah, nice.
They're still going to be above ground, not below ground. And I mean, some of the farmers said even when you go underground, it's years before you can use that land again. And in some cases, you never will use that land to grow anything on again.
Yeah,
and
you got all sorts of excavators and everything tracking up and down over your topsoil and ripping it all up and
compresses the land.
People don't think about that. They think that the conduits just magically just go in the ground.
No, it's massive disruption to their lives, even with these windmills and that. You know what it takes to put them down. Let's not. We'll have another chat about the climate emergency another time.
Yeah. We've done it. We've spoken about it heaps. You should look at the one episode with Jeff Grimshaw.
Okay.
And also Pamela Jones. Pamela Jones talks about the biodiversity corridors up in far north Queensland where they're just ripping down trees to put up wind farms. It's just madness. Absolute madness.
So I'll be able to share your videos on my Facebook page then, so I'll go through and have a look at all of those. Yeah, people need to wake up. They're just virtue signaling again and saying, yep, I'll do the climate emergency. Okay, can I get on with my life now? You know?
Yeah.
But I think people are going to change their minds because they're now feeling it. Those of us that lost our jobs or our businesses felt it financially. Now everybody's feeling, unless you're rich, is feeling it financially with the cost of living. And maybe that's what it needs to take people to actually wake up and start asking questions instead of just ticking the box.
And even if they don't feel it, even if that doesn't wake them up, when the lights go out, they'll feel it then.
Absolutely.
So no matter what, you're going to have your 3 warnings with this whole situation. You know, our prices, we had all the COVID emergencies and the prices are going up with the green stuff. And then what's going to happen is the power is eventually just going to go out. There's no planet saving in green energy. I was talking about it today with somebody else, you know, what they should have done. Actually, I was commenting on Sarah Game's Facebook page. If our government really cared about climate, they would have cancelled green and gone radioactive.
Yeah.
So it's about higher.
We've got a massive country. It doesn't have to be on our back doorstep. For goodness sake, we've got a huge country.
It could be on our back doorstep. It wouldn't matter because the way it works now with this green stuff, with the small modular nuclear and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to say it again. If we went nuclear, right, that is the entire waste uranium that you would produce in your lifetime from birth to death.
Wow.
Is one can. That's it. That's all the waste that you would have.
That's mine.
And that's using nuclear.
Wow.
See, he's got one as well. So but could you imagine that it's 680 tons of ground dug up to get copper? For anything, all these renewable. I don't even call renewables renewable anymore. I refuse to do it because
they're replaceables because you're going to have to replace them in 15 to 20 years.
That's exactly right. So if the solar panel doesn't last its entirety or it can't be recycled, which it can't, Okay, it's not a renewable. You
And
can't.
80% come from China, so you better hope we still have good relations with China after those 15 years.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
Otherwise we
no,
won't be having any energy at all.
and yet people won't even have the debate. They won't even talk about it. You just get shut down.
They don't scratch beneath the surface. I mean, look at renewal. You'll see some poster with a solar farm and a windmill with a rabbit in the foreground and beautiful greenery but no one scratches beneath the surface and talks about the forced labor in China with the Uyghurs who produce majority of the components of these things, and the child labor in the Congo mining for cobalt but it's the same thing with nuclear as well. People think it's green sludge coming out of the side of the plant like in the Simpsons, but when you scratch beneath the surface, you find out points that Adam just raised like that. So, I mean, people just need to look deep, but they're so busy with their own lives.
That's it. They just want to tick the box. Yep, I'm a greenie. Off we go. Yeah, I always said in all my years I've lived in Australia, the only thing green about the Greens is their name. They are not green. They don't care about humanity. They don't care about the planet. They just care about themselves and making more money.
That's true. I agree.
Well, I think you've given people a lot of hope. Hopefully, you can reach out to more people in your electorate as well, so they really find out the name Amanda Evezard. I said that right, Evezard?
That's right. Yes. Good. Well done.
But is your Facebook up and running yet? Like, if people want to follow you and contact you, or is there another way that's better to contact you?
Yeah. Look, I would think that I'll have it up and running tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. It will be up and running tomorrow. If I can't get it done, through the normal channels, I'll find a way. So it'll be up and running tomorrow.
If people want to volunteer or send you any sort of support, can they email you or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So contact on. I'm sure that my mobile phone number will be on that as well. I have a separate campaign number, and the email should be on that as well. So I'm happy to take calls, go and visit people. We do need volunteers, so that would be fantastic. And if people have just got questions, want to ask questions about what One Nation stands for, a lot of undecided voters. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Amanda, for coming on, and all the best. We wish you all the luck in the world, and fingers crossed that you can really.
Well, it might take luck. I'll just end with this silly story. We had a raffle last night, and I bought 4 tickets, and the first 2 tickets drawn were mine. I took the first prize. I gave the second one back. I said, for goodness sake, please draw another one. But I just thought, maybe third time lucky, two raffle tickets, maybe we win the election as well. So who knows?
Luck's on your side.
A trifecta there, or as I said to Chris Bradbury, maybe we're going to do a Bradbury, he's going to look like we're behind, and then everybody else falls over and in comes Amanda. So there we go.
That's right.
That'd be really good. Well, we're praying for you, and we hope that you and we give you good luck for your campaign. It's all about hard work, though, not so much luck. And make sure that you have at least 2 days off afterwards, because you're going to need to sleep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know that the next few weeks are going to be absolutely hectic. So that's it. It's 3 weeks out of our lives. I'm used to hard work. So let's go. Let's get this done.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. And if you really enjoyed this episode, please share it out and spread the word. Amanda's out there. She's ready to rock Victoria. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.